Hey you guys, I am Dr. Lauren Baker, and thanks for joining me on this super fun YouTube live. So if you don't know me, I am a physical therapist, a self-published author. I currently see babies in their homes doing cash-based physical therapy. I go to their homes and I treat conditions like torticollis and plagiocephaly, which is that flattening of the head. And then I also help mamas help their babies get to like the next milestone. So if babies struggle with rolling or crawling or walking, things like that. But I do also love helping adults. So my husband, we call him online, his online alias is Batman. He is a runner, and I also am super active, and I love doing circus. So I love helping other individuals understand their body better and just really kind of share my knowledge. It was expensive to get. Physical therapy school is not cheap. And so I definitely love just kind of passing that information on. Now, the biggest thing that we're going to talk about today is really about self-publishing a nonfiction paperback book. Now, going through all the information that I had to share with you guys, I realized that if I talked about the Kindle version or talked about the children's book that I also have self-published, it could get and become kind of a lot. So we are gonna kind of stick to that paperback. I feel like that's really what most people think about when they think about self-publishing. They want a physical book to hold in their hand. And then the Kindle version is kind of that next step so that you can get your information out into the hands of more people. So if you are on, definitely make sure that you drop a comment in that little chat box. So a couple things, make sure if you have a question, we will have some dedicated like Q&A time throughout the presentation. I'm anticipating it being about an hour, but if you can't stay that long, definitely check back and we'll have this up as a recording. The biggest thing is that when you put a question, make sure you put a Q in front of the question in the chat. That way I'll be able to search for all of the questions and we can answer them during those dedicated Q&A times. But you can feel free to ask any questions kind of during the recording. Also, let me know if there's any like weird glitches on your end. I am using a new software. It's called Ecamm Live, and I'm loving it. But again, this is my first live utilizing it, so I'm not gonna say that it's gonna go perfectly. You know how that goes. So, all right. Well, let's kind of get started here. I do want to try it and pop up. My chat box kind of ran away from me. And so let me see if I can find that, of course. And then show, is there like a show option? Oh no. Okay, well I know that I can find it, so definitely shoot. Okay, here we go. There we go. Okay, pops up. So again, if you have any questions, now I got the chat box live, and so post any comments too if you guys are watching this. I mean, YouTube is international, so I love to get to know people in my community. Oh, hi, Hope. You guys, Hope is so amazing. She is super sweet. Let's see if I can add. I heard you can like add this too. Oh yeah, look, Hope, watch this. Ah, how cool is that? You can kind of see your little comment on the thing. I feel like I should move it around so you can actually like read it. Okay, we'll put these over here. And yeah, so comments are super fun, and if you have a question, put a Q in front of it so that I can search it. And I'm pretty sure these comments are supposed to go away in like 15 seconds, but we'll see if it kind of stays up there the whole time. We'll have to figure that out. You know, we're just figuring this out, guys. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about is the different books that I have personally self-published. So one of the big reasons why you guys are here tonight is because you're either curious or you know somebody who is curious about self-publishing on Amazon specifically. I have only ever self-published on Amazon. There are different platforms out there that you can utilize to self-publish. I personally have only self-published on Amazon, so that's what my experience is and what I'm going to talk about tonight. But I'm super passionate about helping other physical therapists, healthcare professionals, and just people with a message get that out and get that into the hands of other people. Because here's the thing, like, your knowledge is valuable and there are people out there searching for what you have and what you've mastered. And the biggest thing is that you just need to do a little Google, little YouTubing, gather all your courage and get your booty in that chair and write that book. So here's to your adventure and having this little YouTube video make it a little bit easier. So the 3 books that I have self-published, the very first one is called the Pediatric Exercise Handbook. And I self-published this book with my co-author, Caitlin Middleton, and we originally wrote this book to go on a mission trip to Nepal in 2016. So the meat of this book was created in 2016 in a Google Doc, and then I'll kind of walk you guys through that process because that was the biggest journey. And once you write the first book, you self-publish the first book. Again, this was actually my mom's birthday, so February 9th, 2020. And so once you finish the first book, it becomes so much easier to self-publish any additional books. So the first one, the Pediatric Exercise Handbook, we'll get into some stats, but you guys, this book by itself with super minimal marketing sells 60 to 70 copies, sometimes upwards of 80 copies a month. So stick to the end and I will really go through the numbers of how much this little book has made. This little like 70-page, not even, you guys, 61 page mini book has sold all over the world too. The second book that I made was The Boy and the Boomerang. This is a children's book, and I actually got it illustrated by an illustrator on Fiverr. That's going to be another live, I'm sure, because I do get a lot of questions on how to self-publish a children's book, and it's a totally different process than self-publishing a nonfiction, or really, I mean, technically you could utilize the same steps we're going to go over in this video for a fiction book. I just have never personally written fiction, so I'm sure from a writing standpoint, it would be different. But this book has sold differently as well, but we'll also go over the numbers and how well this book has sold and some plans for the future on that book and at the end of the session. So definitely, if you're not able to stay the whole time, make sure that you pop in and watch the recording. Now, this baby is the book we'll talk the most about today, and this is the Pediatric Physical Therapy Documentation book that Hope, actually, you guys saw her comment pop up. She helps add some super vital information to this book. It is amazing. It's called The Ultimate Guide to Pediatric Physical Therapy Documentation. It's for student physical therapists and PTs transitioning into pediatric practice. So basically, it's like an English book on how to make interventions with kiddos sound skilled, authoritative, and really like sentence structure. It goes over school-based, medical model, PT, and it's really kind of just came out of nowhere, and I had so much fun writing it. So we're going to go through all the things here with this book today. It is available for pre-order and the Kindle version now, and the paperback version goes on sale on August 2nd, 2021. Woo. Also, too, just a quick tip for you guys. The reason why there's this ribbon here, oh, yeah, right there, is because this is a proof copy. So when you get your first version, you're going to inevitably make some mistakes. Like you guys can kind of see, let's see if we can get really close here. You can kind of see that this line, this black, doesn't go all the way over the binding. It kind of like stops maybe like a centimeter short. So after I got this proof, I went through and made tons of corrections. Like there's notes all over this thing. I wrote in it, I wrote on it. This is like all of my to-dos, and then I had even more to-dos after that. But one of the biggest things with an author proof is that you want to look at the cover and different things too. So like, for example, this text was way too big. You can see the difference between this text and this text. So there's just a kind of a couple of things that we fixed. So just to make it like a nicer experience for everybody. So those are my 3 titles that I have self-published starting February 2020 going to August 2nd, 2021. Next, we are going to go into the actual meat and potatoes of like, okay, so you've got a book idea, right? And you sit down in your chair, you're like, this is the year I'm going to write that book. Okay, cool. So you sit in this chair and you start thinking, so what do you do? Like, do you just start typing? Do you just open up a Google Doc and just start like typing things? Like, how does one go about writing a book? Is it like an essay from English class? Is it like an evaluation? No, it's not. But really, is it that different? Here's the thing. You definitely have to start. The hardest part about writing a book is believing that you're capable of actually finishing a book. Everyone's capable and probably doesn't feel like it's a big stretch to like start writing a book, but finishing a book, having a structure with the book, like that seems to be oftentimes like a bigger stretch. So let me paint the picture. It is 2016 and my friend Caitlin and I decide we're going on a mission trip to Nepal to help kiddos with disabilities get physical therapy and train their staff so that they can live like the most optimal lives with their impairments and strengthen them and educate and just help the community there. So we're doing this outreach program. So we have this idea in like February. Oh, I met Caitlin in January, by the way, to add another twist to the story. So we have this idea in February. We decide on Nepal. We weren't sure about why Nepal, but it was just really calling to our hearts, so we went with it. And we fundraised all summer. We buy our plane tickets. We're like, okay, it is August, like the end of August. We have 30 days before we actually get on a plane, and we have the money and we've done everything. So we now just have 30 days. And Caitlin says, I really feel like we need to read a book or write a book because we felt like we needed to leave something with these families and with these caregivers because we knew that we could only have so much impact in our 2 weeks time spent there. So we're like, yeah, this sounds totally legitimate. We can sit down and just write a book in 30 days and it's going to be totally fine. Yeah, people do this. This seems totally doable. And I don't know what it is when me and Caitlin get together, but basically we just sometimes come up with kind of crazy ideas and they always work out. So we sit down and I literally remember sitting at the computer. So I'm like here and Caitlin's next to me and we open up a Google Doc. And then we stare at the blank page. And then we look at each other and we stare at each other and we're like, oh, do you know how to write a book? And she's like, no. Do you know how to write a book? I'm like, no. And this little voice in my head is like, what made you think that you could write a book? You don't know how to do this. And then we took a deep breath and I was like, okay, if I were going to write a book, how would I start? And this little voice inside me goes, write what you know. And those words were so powerful. So we're going to switch screens. And this, you guys, is how it started. So it didn't actually start with, okay, so this was not actually the very, very, very first Google Doc. There were a lot of Google Docs, let's just be honest here. But this was kind of the one where we really started writing out ideas. So we wrote what we knew, and we basically just made an outline, and we just wrote things down. We wrote down exercises, body parts, body areas we wanted to focus on, and we came up with just different things. We were also thinking about this in a holistic manner because we really wanted to only utilize equipment that we could bring over there and that all fit into a duffel bag. And so that was kind of our framework to work off of. So I do think that it's really helpful when you go to write a book, to have a framework of which you are working off of. So that framework for us was equipment has to be like hand operated, no batteries, because we didn't know if batteries were really even available readily in Nepal. It all had to fit in a duffel bag, and it had to be easily replicated with pictures and some explanation through this book, because we knew after 2 weeks that was all these individuals were going to be left with in order to reproduce these exercises and these positions. And so what we did was we wrote down a bunch of different ideas, kind of all these bullet points, and then we found a friend who allowed us to come over to her house and take pictures of her kiddos, placing them in different positions. So here you can see my absolute favorite exercise of all time, the toddler squat. We chose a peanut ball because we could utilize a hand pump with it. And so we just utilized kind of some different seated strategies, different positions there. Again, you can kind of see in red, like, you know, none of this is really done. This doesn't look like a book at all. So basically we had all these bullet points out, and then after we took pictures, we just dumped the pictures in so that we could just start putting it together. We had TheraBand. We got them a huge kind of bundle of different TheraBand. We actually ended up not utilizing this leg TheraBand picture because we realized it just seemed a little bit tough to reproduce. So again, as you're writing this book, don't be afraid to cut things out if it doesn't work. We did bring kinesio tape, but we didn't actually take pictures of it just because it didn't seem to be as reproducible for us. You needed a certain level of training in it. And so we ended up that was another thing that we cut. We didn't do everything, all the ideas that we put in. We did decide to add some gross motor milestones for the families. And again, you guys can just see that prior to this point, it wasn't really looking like a book. This is where it starts to kind of come together. Okay, we've got an exercise. We decided on a purpose, the instructions, the safety, and then options for progressing this activity. So that was then that next step of framework. So we had one framework, which was equipment needed to fit into a bag, no batteries, and easily reproducible. Okay, well, now that we have that, what's that next step? So that next step, that next layer then is, okay, these are the 4 key components that we would want all parents, caregivers, whatnot to know to be able to then successfully reproduce these activities. And then also kind of the 5th thing would be that picture that we added. So again, you kind of go through and you're just putting things like rough words on paper. So your first stage of writing a book is literally put words on paper, and then it just keeps going. So again, if you guys are on live, if you have any questions, go ahead and put a Q in that chat and then type your question out. We are getting to a Q&A soon where I can answer your questions. If you are catching the replay, go ahead and post a comment below in just like the normal comment box, because I do respond to every single comment that I get. If I don't personally have a video for to guide you to for extra information, I'm more than happy to do a little bit of research, get that information to you, and post it for you in the comments. Sometimes you just need to know what to Google from someone who has had experience with that. So again, this is the biggest one, is the kind of the beginning stages. So then we've got kind of that next step. So we'll start from the beginning. So after we got all of that out, we started to be like, okay, we've got a plan now. Let's put this all into something that looks more like a book itself. So that's where we go through this. Now, caveat here, me and Caitlin were working together. And so we were doing it between our full-time jobs. It was very much a collaborative work and process. So we chose to do it on Google Docs. I will say we struggled a lot with taking that Google Doc, translating it into just a regular document, like a Word doc, and then formatting it for Kindle from that. So I would say if you're working on a book yourself, it's likely going to be less steps and less extra work if you just go to a Pages or a regular document, like a Word doc, and do your initial writing in there. It's much easier to translate it both to the PDF version, which you would upload to the KDP website, which is how Amazon actually creates the book and turns it into this, or the .epub version, which is how you create a Kindle version. And there are two kind of different steps for formatting and things like that. Again, the Kindle version is going to be a separate video. If this is way past August of 2021, check the description, because I probably have created a video on the Kindle version and link that below. Future Lauren, I hope you are taking care of that for me. So also too, again, so basically we took all this and we had to then copy and paste it over into a Pages/Word doc document. So again, I would not write it in Google Doc unless you were collaborating with someone else. It's not a big deal to carry it over. It's just an extra step that you wouldn't need to do if you were just writing the book on your own. Okay, so we've got the table of contents. This is just a regular table of contents with like periods. What we did here for our initial book was we did it all in 9x11, like a normal sheet of paper, and then got it printed at Staples and spiral bound it. So I did that a lot in PT school for all of my coursework. I really hated loose papers, and so we got it nicely bound for them with a little spiral binding. Now, when we went to publish it into this book is a 6x9" book. I feel like that's like not, I'm not very big right now. A 6x9" book, we then had to change the actual paper size in the Word document, and I can show you guys that in a minute, so stick with me. So this was kind of our introduction. This is one of my favorite quotes in the world. If you are what you should be, you will set the whole world ablaze. It's in, it's actually sneak peek in this book as well, because it just really speaks to me and I feel like it's just really true. So again, in any nonfiction book, it's pretty standard to have some kind of a disclaimer and release of liability. That's something that you likely want to add if you do write your own nonfiction book. You can research a bunch, or you can read other people's nonfiction books. Again, you can kind of see where this starts to take shape and really look like a book. You got the exercise on the top, the purpose, the instructions, the safety options and progressions. And then also we did end up adding like a couple of extra quick things that you could look for and know whether or not a kiddo was doing this exercise correctly. So for the toddler squat, you don't want them hunched over. You want that torso upright. You want that thoracic extension, which is like kind of shoulders back. And then you want your feet shoulder width apart and kind of weight in the heel. So you want those feet flat and toes pointed forward. So things like that, we, talked is very similar kind of going forward. So we did actually end up adding a couple of things. Again, we have some of those exercises you saw before. We have some, TheraBand walks. This stuff is not, so that's like the crazy thing about this, the Pediatric Exercise Handbook that has sold so well, both to parents and to clinicians looking for a quick resource to share with parents. It's not obviously anything super substantial to teach a clinician specifically, but it's a good resource if they're looking for a way to help parents understand some of these exercises that are really functional. But it's also not earth-shattering information. There is not a good PT out there that could not have also written this book. And that's one of the big, huge things for me, is just to share some of the ins and outs, share the concept, this audacity for a physical therapist to believe that they can write a nonfiction book. Like, I think our profession really struggles with this who am I? And we've also been really bound down and kind of been almost like fear-mongered about like sharing information because like you want to protect your license. Yes, absolutely, 1,000,000% do ethical things that are within your scope of practice and do not practice outside in states you're not licensed in. But I really think there is such a need. People are begging for this information. They are searching for this information. That is why this book has sold 60 plus copies per month on autopilot with minimal advertising, because parents internationally and international physiotherapists are looking for resources. So you guys, we have all of this information that we paid big money for locked in our brains, and we need to take action and start being audacious and start doing big things with it. So again, there's a couple other things too. We have these sensory balls, gross motor milestones, right? So, okay, so at the end of this, we've got a notes section, but again, this is like 26 pages, 27 pages. It's not anything crazy. It's not a ton of information. So if anyone is catching the live right now, go ahead and post in the little chat box any questions, or just say hi. Say, tell me kind of where you're catching the live from, if there's like any really amazing breweries by you or coffee shops that I should check out while I'm in town. Give some of your small businesses a shout out for me now so that people can like pull out their Google Maps and add it. So if they're ever in the area, they can make sure that they grab some good places. So go ahead and take a moment to pop in your favorite restaurant, your favorite place, and let us know where in the US or internationally that is. And while I kind of let you guys do that, I will pop over and just kind of tell you about how the current book, the pediatric exercise, I write too many pediatric books. I mean, a whole number of two, but I was doing this in my my walkthrough earlier, but the Ultimate Guide to Pediatric Physical Therapy Documentation book, I did it a little bit differently, but I made the same mistake that I made with the Google Doc. So I will kind of show you guys that. So initially I did not mean to write this book. I definitely, let's kind of pop up here. I was getting some questions from student physical therapists about pediatric documentation. So initially I sat down to write a little blurb, like a couple like 5-page PDF thing. Like, this is how you go about writing documentation, whatnot. Well, so I started in Canva because I love making PDFs, and I found this picture and it's adorable. So that's one thing that you need to know about graphics is there's actually this website called Unsplash, UNSPLASH, like splash, like you're splashing in the water, and then the word or the letters UN, unsplash.com. And that will be linked in the description. I'll just write myself a note here. But that website, you can actually utilize any of the photographs on there for personal or commercial purposes. So I grabbed this photo off of there, and it actually is printing. Let's see if I can show you guys really well. So I was really impressed with the quality of this photo. I wasn't sure how it was going to turn out. Again, it is a pretty good overall website. Things are really professional there. They're really good photographs that they upload. I did personally attribute the individual whose photo it was, although I didn't have to per the agreement of unsplash.com, but I just really like sharing awesome things, and I think that, you know, that's just good karma. So if you're looking for photos, you can utilize Unsplash for the Pediatric Exercise Handbook. This photograph is from a photo Caitlin took, and so I utilized it in Canva, or sorry, scratch that. I utilized that in PicMonkey, and I removed the background. Now they have a new, if you have the paid version, they have a remove the background button that is magic. At that time in February or kind of January 2020, they didn't have that button yet. So I took an eraser and just erased the background and saved it as a PNG. And so now it's way easier for you guys if you wanted to have kind of that blurred, clear background with just a color background. So as I kind of went through, I really just wrote this to my students and just kind of wrote all this information out, right? So you can write the book however you want to write the book. So this is kind of how this book started, and then it became 45 pages. So all the way down here, where like the end of this. References, page 45. Crazy town, guys, crazy town. And this is actually Kraken Images on Unsplash is the person who took the photograph. So you can write this book however you want. Now we're going to get next into the good stuff. Again, if you have a question either on the live, put a Q in front of it and post the comments in. And then if you are on the replay, put the comments in the comment box and I will make sure that I answer them for you or get you a resource that does. Okay, so the next one we're going to go to the actual kind of end page. So let me kind of pull up here. So this is the actual document. So you guys can kind of see how the paper itself is smaller. So if you go into pages, and I believe it's in preferences. Let me see if I can kind of pull this up for you guys. I might have to do another video to show because truthfully, I don't know if I can do it right now. So I will post a link to a how-to video on how to change the page size, whether it's my video or somebody else's, in the description so that you guys can figure out how to do that. But basically this is a 6 by 9 inch page document size. And Amazon does also, if you Google appropriate page size for 6x9 book for Amazon, they'll tell you like the exact stipulations, because sometimes like for covers and things like that, they want it to be a slightly obscure size. It's not always just like exactly 6x9 inches, if that makes sense. So sometimes it's a little bit obscure, but so Caitlin actually did this the first time for our other 6x9 book, and I just took that template and just recreated it. So it's pretty easy, but I'll find you guys a link to a video that kind of goes over that as well, so it's all in one place. One thing that was different is I liked that garment for the titles, but I wanted a little bit of a darker text for the body of it. So then I went to, actually, so I guess I didn't change it on the first page, but that's cool. Or that page. That's funny. Let's see if, okay, and that's Garmin too. So it must have started here. Okay, here we go. So sometimes to you guys, like, it's not always going to be totally perfect. I am sure there is still some things I'm going to go through here and be like, oh, darn, that's not exactly right. Or that's a typo or something that wasn't caught on like spell checked or any of the like multiple times I had myself or someone else read through it. We're not here for perfection, because here's the thing, like, it's your responsibility to get your great work out into the world. And the only way that it is great is if it exists. You cannot have good work that just sits on your computer for the rest of eternity. It has zero chance of impacting someone else's life if you're the one holding it hostage. So we have to be okay with products that are less than perfect, and there's always opportunity for you to go back, edit, change things if you need to later. Again, you want it to be the best product that you can make it at the time, but it doesn't have to be 100% like completely error free, because we're all human and this is self-publishing. And I think people who buy a book that is self-published, as long as it's a good quality book and it's written well and there's not like glaring errors, people do have some understanding of like, okay, this is a self-published person. This is not like a best-selling traditionally published author that has, Random House publishing their book, right? So there is people are extending a little bit of grace as long as the information is helpful for them. So the biggest thing too that I changed was I have Cambria here. I liked having 4 spaces, returns, and then a bigger title. So it's 18 point. I did not. So some people like it when you kind of like slightly indent the paragraph. I personally just liked a very clean edge, and so I did not indent any of mine. A lot of my chapters are really short, so it's also not hard to read. If you were going to have super long chapters, then maybe breaking up that page would be important. Or if you don't have spaces in between your lines, then it would be important. So you guys see all of these little blue markers. These are called invisibles. And so what you're going to do is, in order to make them be seen, you're going to go up to view and down to hide, okay. This is how it would look normally, right, when you're writing, because all that blue would be crazy annoying. But when you go to format it, you want to then go to view and do show invisibles. And so the invisibles are all of the spaces. This is really important because at like the end of a page, especially with the paperback version, you want to have a clean cut at the end. So you would not want like a bunch of returns at the bottom of this page. Now, I, on the welcome page, did not want any page numbers. Again, just personal preference. And here is that quote again, so you guys can kind of see that. The other thing that's really important to note is that all of my pages, or all of my text, is justified. So if you see over here, you have 3 options: to the left, to the middle, to the right, and then justification. And justification is essentially making the words line up on the outside line of the page and the left side of the page and the right side of the page, so it's equally spaced out. Some people prefer this, some people don't. It's sort of a matter of preference, but I do find that it's a lot easier to read on a Kindle version, especially if it's justified. I really like it. I feel like a lot of the traditionally published books are like that. You can mess around with how far they're spaced. Again, I'm not an expert on formatting books for Kindle, so there are still things that I have to learn. One of those things is kind of how to play around with the justification of text. So whether it's helpful to make the space between them smaller, what is better for the reader. So these are things that you're going to want to pay attention to, and then also really just go to your own personal preference and kind of figure that out. So let's go back to the table of contents, because that's something else with formatting that you're really going to want to do. So this table of contents here so it's going to be in that Garment text. And the reason why it's in Garment is because any of these words basically is one of these aspects of the text. So this welcome is under a header, which is title. You could put header 1, you could name it kind of whatever you want, but it needs to be a title or a style of a paragraph. And then when you do, you can go to insert table of contents. And then if you were to do that, you would pick which heading, if it's heading 1, title, whatever, and then you would make the table of contents based on that. And then you can insert page numbers, and then you can basically just go through, and it makes it so that these are clickable. And you can go directly to that spot. So the other thing that is really important that you want to figure out is what you like as far as spacing. So something that is different from this book versus the other book, I wanted a little bit more space between the lines, so I chose 1.2 spacing. And then I also wanted just a little bit more of a defined edge to the page, and so it's 0.2, 0.2, and 0.2 all around. And then if I have a bullet, the bullets are sometimes standard. I've had kind of 2 different versions of bullets. Like you can see right here, these bullets are 0.16 indented, just the text, not the bullet itself. You could also have the bullet go inward too. So sometimes the bullet is indented like 30 or like 0.3 inches, and the text is also indented. So it really just depends what kind of look you guys specifically are going for. One of the big things too, I'm going to pull you guys over here so I can go down that I really want to talk about is images. So images, okay, so like I was saying here, this bullet is 0.38 and 0.13 inches in. I kind of left that. I just liked that look for this specific section, which is the visual motor, fine motor, visual, and then gross motor section. I just liked how that kind of all looked together. And then the other thing to note too is how on pages they have like a little text up here. So this is a text box on each of these little pages. So when you're looking at like a regular book, usually there's on the left-hand side of the page, there is the title of the book, and on the right-hand side of the page, there's going to be the title of the chapter. I personally just kind of have the title of the chapter because my sections are really short. And so it was just one less thing to do. And I feel like it's pretty self-explanatory. Like I don't need to market that the name of the book, because also a lot of times my names of my books are really long. So again, you guys can kind of see that this book has a ton of information in it. It is over, I think it's 122 pages. Again, they're smaller pages. Yeah, don't get me wrong. They're definitely smaller pages, but hopefully this is not like sickening to you guys. I wish there was the table. Oh, you know what I could do? Here we go. I didn't even think about that. Oh, so smart. Okay. Wow. Sorry, guys. Okay. So we're going to go to additional books. I do want to talk about sometimes pictures are really tough. So the biggest thing, if you do have a lot of pictures, when you do it to a Kindle version, it's going to be harder and you're probably going to have to go through it a bunch of different times. So formatting is just going to be more of a pain. But the biggest thing you can do with images that you want to know is that, oh, and this one doesn't even have it, but basically you want it to be in line with text. So yeah, so especially, and it's probably, you know what, it's probably the, I'll just go back and fix that. So the Kindle version is really important that it is in line with text, because otherwise the photo itself is going to get really wonky. The other thing you have to note with Kindles that's different is the different sizes. So sizing of pictures can get weird, and some of the formatting things can be kind of tough. Okay, so it's 113 pages total. Let me see if that's right. Yeah, 113 pages, but there are a couple pages in the front that like aren't counted. One thing that you definitely want to do, that I didn't do actually in my children's book, is have have one of these pages which has the title in it. Things you don't think about until you go to write a note for somebody and sign a book. So you definitely want to make sure you have this page in your book. So, okay, so that's basically, so then once you format all of this, you have all of your text is justified, your pictures are in line with text, you have your table of contents, you insert your page numbers, you have, the copyright page. Oh, the thing about copyright that we did not talk about. Okay. Go back up here. So within the copyright page, you are going to have an ISBN number. This is something that Amazon can give you. You can also purchase separately. I've always just gotten whatever ISBN number Amazon assigns me. There are probably stipulations, but I've only ever self-published on Amazon, so it's never really been an issue for me. I never upload or get an ISBN number, however, until I've officially been copyrighted by the US government. So if you're international, your copyright might be a little bit different, but basically I will link also the government copyright website below. It's not super user friendly, but it's not terrible either. It's about like $50, $50 to $100, I think, to copyright a piece of work. You put in there the things that you are copywriting and things you are not. One of the big things for me is that the cover photo I was not copywriting, and I put in there to exclude that specifically because, again, that does belong to someone else, even though I have the commercial license to utilize it. but I wait, and the copyright, they actually send you a letter in the mail, and they're also really good about reaching out if you are missing something. So if you've not heard back within, I would say 8 weeks, definitely go ahead and shoot them an email and just make sure that they have everything from you. There's not any mistakes. It does have to be a clean application. Otherwise, they will send you an email and then send you something in the mail, and then you can keep it forever and ever and ever. But that is something that is kind of specific. So let's head the next thing that we're going to do. So after you have that all done, right? So you've got that all done, you are going to go over to the KDP website. So I'm going to walk you guys through that. We are getting pretty close to that hour point, but I do want to kind of show you how you would set this up, and then also talk about some of the kind of results and things like that that I have gotten personally, and also with co-authoring the Pediatric Exercise Handbook, so you can just kind of see what is possible for you. Okay, so we got the KDP website. All right, here we are. Okay, so you will create a KDP account. So I personally have utilized the same email as my Amazon email address. You can utilize a different one for a Pediatric Exercise Handbook. We created our own, so that is the only book that is established there. The KDP website is how you are going to get paid. You attach your bank account there, you do a W-9 so that they can send you a royalty tax document. The big thing to know about royalties is that anything over $10 in the US, you do have to pay taxes on. So it is different than like a 1099 form if you've ever been an independent contractor before. I will also say that I highly encourage individuals to take their taxes to a licensed tax professional, because we've been having someone else do our taxes for a while, and even they struggled a little bit with having to put the royalty information and like money and things like that in the correct spot. It's not quite as encouraging or as straightforward as one might think. And because if you make $10, you have to file that, I would just really kind of keep that in the back of your mind that like, okay, this year, if I self-publish a book and I make money more than $10 from it, I'm going to pay someone to do my taxes. Trust me, super worth it. Okay, so you go down here. Again, you would create a new title. You have to create the Kindle book and the paper book, the Kindle ebook and the paperback book separately. You can also create a series, which is really cool as well. So again, like if I had a haiku children's book series, then I could attach them all together. This is helpful for the Amazon algorithm. Yep, Amazon is a search engine, and they do reward authors that have multiple books, and also multiple books that are created in a series. So definitely encouraging you guys to do multiple books if you do write a book. Again, honestly, it's way easier the second time through. Okay, so we're going to go through the Pediatric Physical Therapy Documentation book, because that one is still in draft. With Kindle ebooks, actually, you can create a pre-order live. So if you head over here, you can actually see that my book is available for pre-order. So someone could click this button, pre-order it. It doesn't actually charge your card right away, but it does kind of once it's released, from my understanding. But you can put the ebook on pre-order, which just helps you get the word out, start marketing in advance. That is also something that we are not going to have time to go over today, but it is really important if you do want to sell books on Amazon that you do have an online presence, and that you are collecting emails and you are talking with your community and you are doing different marketing strategies, and you're not just relying on Amazon in order to do all of the work for you, if you will. The cool thing though about self-publishing on Amazon is that you can actually put in a lot of work up front, let it live, and continue to learn how to market your book better. And it's not something that you have to like, okay, well, if my book didn't sell like 1,000 copies in a month, that I can't fix that, or that this book is no longer relevant or valuable. Maybe with some content, but for the most part, especially if you're in PT or healthcare, your knowledge, it does change over time. Things do get upgraded or change, but overall it is going to be valuable. And also if it's like a personal book or autobiography or something like that, your perspective is valuable. And so you can get better at the marketing aspect of it. You just got to get the book to exist first. So if we go back over here to this, okay, so we're going to hit continue setup. I'll show you guys what we do here. Oh, goodness. Hit like. Logged me out. You can see all my, a lot of emails. Okay. Again, if you have any questions, put a Q before the question in the chat and then pop it in the chat. And if you are catching the replay, drop them in the comment box. So this is what the back office looks like of KDP. You're going to have your book title and then your subtitle. For me, it's, The Ultimate Guide to Pediatric Physical Therapy Documentation is the primary title. And then the subtitle is who it's for student physical therapists. And PT is transitioning into pediatric practice. Here's where you would add whether it's part of a series or not. Here is where you would put the author. If you have contributors, so Caitlin, for our other book, Caitlin was the one who was the primary author, and I was a contributor just because she did a lot more of the editing, and she was the one who figured out how to do this first, and so I was like, heck yeah, girl, you be the primary editor. So when we were best-selling #1 in physical therapy for the Pediatric Exercise Handbook, it was like Caitlin Middleton and one other. And my joke was that everyone dreams about being the one other best-selling author. So again, you could also do, like, if you have a children's book, there's a bunch of different people that you can have as like contributors, authors, illustrators. You're going to have a description. You can go in here and kind of format it in HTML to make it look cooler, but again, I didn't yet. You can always go back and change some of this stuff. Things like the title, you cannot change. So again, typically you're going to own the rights of your content. So again, definitely make sure that you have registered it with DUS or your your country's copyright stuff. So here's something that we have not talked about yet. So your keywords. So keyword research is really important. If you've ever written a blog post, you're going to know what keyword research is. But basically it is different words that are formed together, and that's kind of what people are searching for Amazon. So for example, physical therapy documentation. So like if I go over here to Amazon itself, and I go up here to pediatric physical therapy documentation, and I pop that in, that is a long tail keyword. That's 4 keywords basically put together in like a little mini search sentence. So that is going to be this very, very specific niche. Physical therapy documentation would still be a keyword, but it would be a slightly shorter one. So I'm not going to pop up as early. So again, you can kind of see this is a sponsored post, which means it's an ad. And then this is also a sponsored post, which means it's an ad. And I'm the #1 book that is not sponsored. So if someone is searching for a book on pediatric physical therapy documentation, this is going to pop up early. And the biggest part about the reason why I think that the pediatric exercise handbook has done so well, and I will pop over to this one, and I've really kind of tried hard to replicate that with this book specifically, kind of bring it up here, is it is easy. People are searching for exercise book, exercise handbook, pediatric exercise handbook. They're searching for that, and the cover is very simple, but it's also cute. A mom is going to go look at this and be like, oh, like that little kid looks like they're having fun. I'm curious about that exercise. I want to learn more. So my goal for the Ultimate Guide to Pediatric Physical Therapy Documentation is very similar. And that is to have a really searchable title. So Pediatric Physical Therapy Documentation. People are looking to solve a problem, and my hope is that this book solves it for them. I'm obsessed with this picture because it really reflects the life of a pediatric physical therapist, and also moms, just toys everywhere. But the little girl is really cute, and it's also just very clear, very clean, very clear. This is a book where I'm like, oh, I feel like I know what I'm going to get. I feel like the individual who created the cover for this book, put time, effort into that. I create all of my covers in Canva. We're not going to be able to get to that today. That if you guys want to see how I create covers in Canva, make sure you post a comment below or shoot that comment in the chat button right now, or the chat box right now, so that I know to do that. And I can share that video with you directly through that comment if you, once it's created. So, okay, we're gonna go back to this setup. So again, one really helpful tool, I guess, that I utilize for keyword research is Keywords Everywhere. And it's a little plug-in that I can kind of show you guys real quick. Oh, I want to show you that later, so I won't show you on that page. But if I go to Google, and let's just look at pediatric physical therapy documentation. Look, so also the things that pop up, so pediatric physical therapy documentation book, that was a long tail keyword. That was something, that was an idea. So you can do this in YouTube, you can do this in Pinterest, you can do this in Google. Those are all search engines. You can do it in Amazon, anything really that has a search box. So you can see over here on the right hand corner where it says related keywords. Now this is on my Chrome website all the time, or my Chrome browser all the time. So anytime I Google something, I get keywords for it. It's really just good practice to just know what other things people could be searching for that are related. So this is how I do my research to try and find what things are really helpful to people. So pediatric physical therapy documentation examples. I did pediatric physical therapy documentation book, I think. So we'll go over here. Pediatric physical therapy evaluation example, pediatric physical therapy documentation book, physical therapy documentation, school-based physical therapy, because it does go about writing IEPs, progress notes, discharges, all different kind of sentence structures for school-based physical therapy as well. The other thing that you have to do in setting this up is you have to pick 2 sections. Now, Amazon will add sections to you based on buyer preference and things like that. And I have also heard that you can email Amazon to add a couple of other categories and or keywords. I have not done that yet. That's just another area of growth that I'm looking into. But for this book specifically, I try to make it as important or as relevant as possible. So pediatrics, physical medicine, and rehab, that's a PT section. And then it doesn't have adult content. So we're good there. We are getting so close, you guys. I am so pumped. This has been so fun. Honestly, I have no idea how many of you are live. I don't know if there's like anyone who's just kind of watching, or if it's literally just me talking to nobody. I know Hope, because she's like the most amazing human in the whole universe, popped on to say hi, and I really appreciate that from her. Okay, so here is again where you're going to get that free KDP ISBN. So you want to look, and in case you want different, in case there's limitations with only using an Amazon ISBN and you want to self-publish in other areas, definitely do your due diligence and double check that. I only ever really have the intention to self-publish on Amazon. I'm honestly not really that interested in working with a traditional publisher. Maybe if I wrote another book with Caitlin and that was an experience we wanted to have together, I could possibly be talked into it. But I really honestly just like doing my own thing, and I like writing content that I feel like the marketplace needs. And to truth be told, we pitched this book to a traditional publisher and they were kind of like, and it's selling, 60 to 80 copies a month. So that's how I feel on that, right? So I just think about all of these books that could be helping people that don't exist yet because a traditional publisher, it just like doesn't really go with their culture, their theme, like their whatever, right? And that's fine for them. But like these parents and these humans need the knowledge that we all have locked away in our brains, and traditional publishers have held the key forever. And now they're not the gatekeepers anymore. Amazon is, and their search engine, and it's literally free to publish this. So like I have other people edit it. I format everything. It took me $0 besides maybe having the free trial of Canva to do my cover. And I do utilize the paid version of PicMonkey for my other online businesses. But technically writing a book just takes the amount of time that I sit down and I do all this. So I think that we need to get more information out to the masses, and let's all self-publish. Let people decide whether or not what we have is helpful to them. So I like black and white interior with white paper. We did initially have it on cream paper for one of our very first versions of the exercise handbook. However, it just wasn't as crisp and clean, and there are some limitations when you go to distribution on whether or not like some countries will even print on cream paper. So I would say black and white interior with white paper is perfect if you have minimal images, or you want to make the most out of your royalties, because if you have premium color interior with white paper or standard color interior with white paper, it's going to cost more to print your book. And so you're going to either have to increase your price point in order to make that feasible for you, or you're going to get less in royalties if you keep it at the same price point as if you had like black and white pictures. People do like color pictures though, so that is something to consider. Again, if you're doing a children's book, definitely have the color pictures. Again, here's where you can do sizing. I chose no bleed. And then I like the glossy covers. We also tried matte the first time. I'm a huge fan of the glossy. I just feel like it's just kind of fancy and it makes me happy. So I'm team glossy. Now, again, from the pages, all I did was go through that Word doc and then export it as a PDF and then upload the paperback manuscript right there. Now, you guys will kind of see this, that the cover is weird looking. It's like if you pulled all the pages out of a book and laid the cover flat, it's actually like printed on one page. So there are some different dimensions, and that's kind of why I definitely recommend getting at least one author proof, maybe even two if you made pretty significant changes to it. I thought I was only really going to get one proof, and then I really, really was happy that I got a second one just to kind of double check. Like you can see here that it's not 100% perfect, but when I make it in Canva too, it also has some limitations and on how small of a movement it can make. So there's things like that. You could also do a cover in PicMonkey. Some of the big things with a cover is you just want to be able to calculate how, like, your page width and then how many pages you have in the total of the book, not just numbered pages, but all of the pages. And Amazon does have pretty easy, like, little built-in calculators if you just Google like how big of a spine to have. If your book is super small, you're not able to write on the binding. I think if it's over 100 pages, you might be able to, but there is also some benefits in having a book that is less than 100 pages. They call it a short read, and that has its own category. So sometimes there is literally an entire self-publishing strategy where you only write books less than 100 pages. So again, I kind of like the clean look of having just a black border. If you have a page that's like, or a book that's like 300 pages, girlfriend, you put some text on that binding, because you earned it with the amount of time it took you to sit your booty in a chair and write that 300 pages. So that's definitely the case. Again, I make changes to this manuscript all the time. It takes a while to get it to a point where you feel like it's pretty good. You can kind of launch this preview. Let's see if it'll do it for me. Now, all the times I'm like it's gonna be like all links down below. You guys are gonna get like this master class. So again, you can kind of see here too where the binding would be. You want to make sure all the text is on the inside of the red lines. The reason why there's more space here is because actually there's like this other line they don't actually show you, but think of it as like the crease from when you open the page, right? So you guys can kind of see here where there's like a crease there. So that is, oh God, this is a lot harder than you think it's going to be. So there's a line like right here. So it's kind of before the. I don't know if you guys can see that. So it's kind of before the. It's a very faint line. And it's also that way on the back. So I want all of the text to be on the inside of that. And then also you have to leave space for the barcode, because that's something Amazon puts on for you. So that's not something that I have. If you were to have your own ISBN number, then you would have to put the barcode in, I think, but I've never had to do that. So then it's going to show you what it looks like. And so you can kind of go through this and just make sure it looks the way you want it to look. And then you go through everything and you can kind of put in what page you want to look at. And then, oh, okay, yep, that's amazing. I approve that. We're good to go. And that like sounds really easy, but really what it looks like is you're like, dang it, why does this look crazy? All right, let me spend another hour trying to fix this. And at this point, though, you're so close that it's not that bad. And the other part is, too, is you actually can hire people to format your manuscript for you. So you can outsource Fiverr, Upwork, things like that. If you were to need to, you can outsource your cover to different people. So you don't have to do all of this work yourself. It's going to also show you how much it's going to cost to print it, both in the US and then also in other countries. We'll go to the next page. Right. It's going to be like an hour and a half. This is going to be crazy, guys. And then you can kind of pick here too what you want. So you can pick this price. Like, you can make it $250. You could have a $250 book. I mean, like, some textbooks are legitimately that much. So this shows you, though, how much you're going to make at 60%. And then also you can choose to do expanded distribution or not choose to do expanded distribution. That's totally up to you. Personally, I kind of figure, like, I made this. It now exists. Let's just get it to people. Let's get it to help people. I don't really worry that much if it is 40% royalty or 60% royalty. It's still more than a penny. It's more money than I would get if the book didn't exist, right? So your work is valuable. You want to be paid and given money that is like equitable and you feel good about, and pricing things. So if you have a lot of stuff come up about pricing, definitely check out what else is going on in the marketplace, similar books, things like that. You want to be competitive. But if you're getting really triggered with setting a price for your book and for your knowledge, just know that your knowledge is valuable, that the things that are inside your head and the way that you are teaching about those things and those perspective shifts that these people who are going to read your book are going to have, that is valuable, and you deserve to be paid for that. And so you just have to figure out what you feel comfortable with, what your goals are, and it's going to be a little bit different for everybody. So again, they also do a really great job of making it similar in different countries. So you're going to get paid more or less similarly in different countries. It does get kind of confusing when you look at the results pages. And this is kind of the last page. So this is where you would request a printed proof of your book. And that's going to be what this book is with that ribbon. So what happens is you request a printed proof of the book, and then you get an email. They have to approve that, like, you're a normal person, right? So like someone didn't hack you and is just like requesting all these random proofs. So you're going to get an email that says your proofs are available for purchase. And then you could click that link and it takes you to an Amazon page, and then you can order it just like a normal book. It's going to be cost plus more shipping. So you don't get the free shipping with Amazon. It's like $4 for shipping or something like that, $2 maybe. I don't know. So it ends up being like less than $10. I think each book was like $6 something for me, like $6.71. So it's not crazy, right? You're not like buying 1,000 books and then you have to go sell those 1,000 books. Like, Amazon prints these books for you. I don't know if I went over that. Literally, Amazon does everything. You just share your link with people, and then people buy it or they search for it on their own. And so you don't have to do anything at this point. Amazon literally direct deposits the money a couple months later. It's usually on like so we just got paid so it's the end of July. We got paid, our last payment was for the end of May. So it's usually like a 2 to 3 month kind of turnover. And it's a little bit different based on country too. So you don't get paid just like one time. You get paid for whatever country too. So there's different cycling, things like that. So that's pretty easy though, you guys. I'm going to hit save as draft because I didn't actually really change anything. And then I'll kind of go back and show you guys the bookshelf. So, so this is kind of where your books live. The other cool thing that you can do is, that's kind of a separate page, is you can create yourself an author page, and just Google, like, I think it's called Author Central, but basically there you link all of your books to yourself. And so when people go over here to check out your books, they're like, oh, there's Caitlin. She's awesome. That's super fun. Oh, I'm curious about this Lauren girl. Oh, okay. And then they click on that. And then you wait, because my computer is really old. But basically, we don't have to wait because it's already open. It's going to send you to this page, and all of your books are going to be there. So the other cool thing is that you can write if you have a blog post or a blog or website, that can automatically update here, so you can actually get traffic there. So I have both of my blogs. So I have both my fitness blog and then also my in-home Dr. Lauren Baker in-home pediatric physical therapy, which is drlaurenbaker.com. And then this one is girlsquadfit.com. So I have both of those. And anytime I publish a blog post, they pop up on my Amazon author page. So it's just another contact point for people to interact with me. And I have actually had people reach out based on, in here I have my email address for further inquiries. People have reached out to that, like people who are interested in what authors have to say, podcast hosts, someone who is creating online courses for physical therapists. They reached out to see if our content would be helpful for them. And so then you have like the Kindle versions and then the paperback version, and you will see that the at the paperback version, the ultimate guide is not there yet because, again, I have to hit publish live on August 2nd. You can't like pre-publish the paperback version like you can the Kindle version. So let's head back. I think that we are wrapping up here. Oh man. Okay. Again, if you guys have questions, go ahead and post that. So this one, you guys, is kind of the big one, right? So this is what you guys waited for the end of the kind of the presentation to just tell you guys like what happened. So 13 total books from February 2020 to July 2021 of the Pediatric Exercise Handbook have been sold. That's an average of 66 paperbacks and 7 ebooks per month, with a total of $9,222 profit from February 2020 to May 2021. And the coolest thing about that is really that we have lives. In all total honesty, the proceeds from the Pediatric Exercise Handbook go to our East of Eden Physical Therapy Grassroots organization, which essentially is a charity that's not actually registered as a charity yet. But all of that money is going to go to outreach to individuals who need physical therapy, whether that is stateside or internationally. We are working with other companies to try and build a greater presence. What we realized is that it's really hard from a just two individual standpoint to have the longevity that we really are looking to have in a place, especially internationally. And we know having more touch points and having people who this is their full-time job or at least their part-time job are able to influence can have a greater impact. But the biggest thing I really want to show you guys here is that we launched in February before the pandemic hit. And then in March, the pandemic hit, we had a huge jump. And this is where we became a #1 bestseller on Amazon. This was kind of the biggest increase in our sales. And what that ended up doing was increasing momentum, right? So we have this book and all of my YouTube videos, especially all my pediatric kiddos. It's on Pinterest, which gets a bunch of traffic to it. And then I have it on a lot of my websites. It's on my Google business page for my pediatric in-home pediatric physical therapy business. So it is out there. It is being shared places. But the biggest thing, and my personal belief on why it's doing so well, is a very searchable title, has a cute cover, if I do say so myself. And people are looking for this information. They are just searching for answers. And this book happens to at least be able to be a stepping stone for them. It is not the end all be all. It's not going to answer all of their questions, but it's going to get them started and help them feel a little bit more supported that there are people out there willing to answer their questions. So again, I hope that this gives you kind of some encouragement as far as just how consistent a book with physical therapy knowledge can be. And then also to just kind of let you know that you're not going to be able to determine which book itself is going to be a home run, right? So you might have to write a couple books before you have success. The biggest thing is that if you feel called to write a book, that you honestly just trust in that intuition and you do it. And you can learn sales and marketing tactics, and you can get better at this as you get older. And you could, heck, you could have all of the text written and put a kind of meh cover on it, or maybe you have outsourced the cover and you like it's pretty good, but you're not in love with it. You could literally republish it with a better cover later on too, as you learn maybe more graphic design or things like that. Like I create all of my covers except for the children's book one, but I've also been in the online space since 2015 and been creating graphics for fun on PicMonkey for now 6 years. So don't like take a look at my graphic or my cover and feel like you need to be able to do something similar. Like, could you do something similar? Heck yes, you could. But also, there are other things that could be really helpful and other resources out there that you guys could always outsource. So that is my big thing. My big thing is for you guys to just to have hope and to write things. Now, I will say, depending on what your niche is, you may have better or worse luck in sales. I will say that my children's book is mostly bought by people who know me, like my mom, for like every child that is going to be born from now until like the end of time. But it's also something that I give away to people, and it's also something that I do feel like the Kindle version, which I just released in May, has actually been kind of prompting sales too, because if someone downloads it, like if you have the Kindle Unlimited subscription, which I do, you can look through that children's book for free, and then you can buy the ones you like. So if it resonates with you, you think it's a cute story, it so is, you can then purchase it, but you already know you like it, right? So I do think having both the paperback version and the Kindle version are really helpful, especially if you click that Kindle Unlimited version. Now, Kindle Unlimited pays you totally different. It's based on pages read, and it's like this whole equation. And so I think last month I got like 22 cents from it. But like, look, I didn't actually put any extra work into that after the Kindle version was published, right? So it's a different style of making money. You're not trading for hours for dollars anymore. But sometimes it's not always going to be like that $50 an hour kind of ego boost. Sometimes it's gonna be like 27 cents, and that's cool because it happened when you were sleeping, and I'm just super grateful for that. And also, being a self-published author is just a really cool adventure. And so I hope if it is something that you guys are interested in, that you let me know in the comments. And especially if you watch this video and then you self-publish a book, holy cow, you better link that in the comments. You better come back to this video and post that in the comments, because that would be just the coolest thing, you guys. Like, self-promote the bejesus out of that, and we can just like chat, and I'll buy your book, and we can just share information. I just think it's really fun. So I would love to chat more, but you guys, it's been an hour and a half, and I am gonna lose my voice soon. So what I do want to share is where you can find me. So again, comment below what type of book you're interested. Are you like science fiction? Are you fiction? Are you like nonfiction, physical therapy, children's children's book, team children's book written in haiku format like me? Whatever. Post that in the comments below. Let me know what you're thinking and what your ideas are, because I think that's super fun. And then if you haven't yet, you can find me at this YouTube channel is probably where I am going to be posting the most content. Again, it's youtube.com/c/Dr. Lauren Baker. If you haven't yet, subscribe, because you're going to probably want to find this video later, right? And who wants to like be like, who is that girl with curly hair that did that like really long video? I don't remember, right? You want to be able to find this later. So you just like go to your subscriptions section and then you're like, oh yeah, there it is. Super easy. You can also find me on Instagram, Dr. Lauren Baker. I've been doing a lot more stories lately on random things like caulking my kitchen. Super fun adventure. And then also pediatric physical therapy info is going to be at drlaurenbaker.com, and fitness information is going to be at girlsquadfit.com. If you're in the US, France, UK, or Canada, and you're a lady and you want to work out with me, I do home workouts, and so you can find all that information there. So, all right, guys. Well, if you have any questions, definitely post them below. But I think we are all set, and I hope you found this information really helpful. Have a good night. Have a great night. It was like a good night and a great night mixed together. Have a good night.